Welcome to the human design portion of aligning your energy with your astrology and your human design. This is really exciting for me to share with you. And everything that I'm covering in this video is also more in depth for exactly what you need to know in the Google document that you have access to within our community. So if you are in the one-on-one container with me, you have access to that. And what I'm going to share with you here is more of an overview. And then you can come to our Telegram, drop me a voice note, ask me any questions in your Monday through Thursday. You can wait until our coaching call that we have every other week. And then you could also come to the group coaching call that you have access to as a bonus for being in a one-on-one container. If you're in the group program, you can post any type of questions that you want in the wall, or you can ask questions on Friday. And if you can't make to Friday's call, you could always post in our Q&A thread, and then I will address them on the call. Your human design is so awesome because it's really going to help you ditch the diet rules. You're going to be using this as a way for you to create an eating and exercise style that is effortless, effective, and enjoyable for you. So you're not going to feel like you have to fit a square peg into a round hole. Using your energy type is going to be so much fun because when you honor your energy type, your body will naturally shift into its healthiest, hottest version because you're not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. This is a high level overview of the energy types in human design, and you'll be able to read a little bit more in the Google document that you have access to within our coaching container to go a little bit deeper into these themes with whichever one applies to you so that you save a lot of time not listening to a whole bunch of stuff. I want to share with you though the perspective that I have using human design, especially because part of my profile is to lead by example. So, as a manifesting generator, some of the things that I noticed before getting into human design was that I felt so much pressure to do every type of fitness, to like be a jack of all trades within fitness, not only for my clients, but also what I was doing. I felt pressure that like I had to do cardio, I had to do kettlebells, I had to do I felt like I had to do all of these things that weren't necessarily great for my energy. They were running me down energetically, like fuel wise, like getting too tired. But then also with my skeletal structure, I was doing some exercise, some styles of exercise that really didn't make sense for the abnormalities that I have in my structure. That the bodybuilding program that you have in the Fat Life is what has corrected my posture and really helped me stay in balance to minimize my flares and my and pulling muscles that ended up making my body really attractive within building the shoulders, narrowing the waist, and building the glutes. So, as a manifesting generator, it allowed me to move into what actually made sense for me. And so there are times where I am feeling super energized, where I have extra energy and it feels good to walk. It feels good to do extra workouts. There are other times where it's like, oh no, like I just need to do the bare minimum because I need to conserve energy. My flexibility more comes from my eating style versus my exercise because my exercise is very programmed to where I'm hitting specific muscle groups to make sure that my body's staying structurally sound. But within my eating is what fluctuates. Sometimes I'm feeling more of a bodybuilding style after my workout. And so I'm eating creamed rice with protein powder or creamed wheat with protein powder and some almond butter or peanut butter. There's other times where I'm not working out in the morning and I don't have clients in the morning and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I want to feel like really luxurious and have toast and butter and eggs and bacon and relax while I drink my coffee." Then there's other times where absolutely nothing sounds appetizing. So on those days, oftentimes I'll have a meal replacement shake. So I have some carbs, I have some fat, I have all the micronutrients from the vitamins, amino acids, but then I also will make it with pasteurized egg whites because they are a cheap way, a healthy way, no salmonella poisoning, a cheap and easy way to get extra protein into your diet. So I really want to share that with you because you don't need to get locked into anything. Another thing with the Manny Gen, or at least with my experience, is that the meal timing. There's times where it feels really good to eat every 2.5 to 3 hours, and then there's other times that like a big, full, fatty breakfast and carb breakfast with bread and butter and bacon and a full egg sounds really good. And so in that sitting, that's a lot more calories. So I might not actually be hungry in 2.5 to 3 hours. I'll wait 4 hours. And so I really want you to take these into consideration because you don't need to feel like you have to eat every 2.5 hours to get results. That might not be something that is efficient for you. Now, with the profiles are really cool because we're actually dealing with your conscious and your unconscious. And from the human design perspective, what this means is that the conscious line, the first number in the profile, is actually how the world receives you, how your personality shows up, how people would talk about you. So for me, I'm a six line, which is leading by example. And so with the six line in human design, the first third of your life is a lot of trial and error, where you're more of like the three line, which the three line is considered the rising phoenix, where it's constantly experiential learning of trial and error. So as the six line, people will look at me and be like, wait, you had a neck injury and you look like that? Wait, you had inflammation and you're able to be this type of lean within the limitation of your eating list? Wait, you have a torn ACL and you can still dance? What's your secret? And so the secret is my two line. My two line is I'm kind of like a Swiss Army knife when it comes to the body, but that also has to do with my Chiron, right? So we really start to see how things tie together. When we're thinking about your conscious line, this is how people identify with you. And the unconscious line is more of how, like, just your overall state of being. So you could probably ask me a question, and I will most likely have the answer for you, slash, I will know the resource to give you. Or my resource to ask the question to have that answer for you. And that's just something naturally that has happened for me. So when we're looking at this, then we can really start to see also that on the unconscious level, sometimes there are going to be things that we deal with all the time that might not be pleasant. So for the two line in the unconscious, even though I am very resourceful and yeah, well that's it. Even though I'm very resourceful, because it is my unconscious, because you cannot see the picture while inside the frame, that means that I might not actually be able to see what it is that I'm good at. And this is goes into this subconscious belief, I'm not enough. And so there has been a lot of things that I have done to educate myself in all different ways because I felt like I wasn't enough and I felt like I had to know all the things in fitness. But really, if I had just taken certifications that I was interested in purely because I was interested in it, not because I felt like I wasn't good enough, I would have had a more pleasurable experience. If you have a six line in your unconscious or a three line in your unconscious, your natural state, your experience of life is going to be a lot of trial and error. If you're a six, it's in that first third of your life that you're going to have a lot of trial and error on an unconscious level, on a level that you cannot control. If you're a three on an unconscious level, it's going to feel like nothing ever works, but it is working because overall, this is the expansion of your soul. So we're really going to be able to have a larger context for some of the experiences, some of our quote unquote struggles, and a way to reframe them because the struggle in weightlifting grows your muscle. Struggle is what grows. And so when we can start to look at these aspects of ourself as a way that like this is entirely to grow our soul, it's really going to loosen up the resistance we have around the eating and exercise habits necessary for whatever your dream body is. And it's going to loosen up the attachment to the dream body where you're not attached to the dream body in a way that everything that you're doing right now is getting judgment because you're not there yet. And so understanding your profile on the conscious and the unconscious level really gives so much context to working with the energy. This is also going into your overall picture of who you are. So, profiles one and four are known as the foundational leaders, and they're teaching structure and breaking down transformation into actionable steps, which is fantastic. And so, for you to be self led, what this means is you're taking in all this information from the fat life of eating, exercise, doing your energy work with brain and heart coherency, getting more objective with using your astrology, and connecting with your inner child. Now you have all this information. And so then now, you being you as the foundational leader, you're like, okay, well, I have all of the context I need. This is what I think is going to be best for me. Now, let me go post in the group. Let me show up to the call. Let me post in our Telegram and ask questions and see what you think about this. How do you think, do you think this plan is pretty good? And then I can coach you through it. If you're a 2 and 5, you're the magnetic innovator. So you're using intuition, embodiment, and radical shifts to create impact, which is so cool because what this means is if you're embodying your intuition, because of course you're doing all your inner work, so your intuition can actually be heard because your intuition is subconscious, laying right next to your pain from your frozen inner child emotions. When you're actually embodying your intuition, you are going to create radical shifts because your intuition embodied is not status quo. So this is fantastic. And what I hope you're also gathering from this right now and getting excited about is that when you are refining your eating and your exercise habits according to your energy, you're refining your energy on every level. And so you're changing your consciousness on every level. So, whatever it is that you're doing in the world, these profiles, being the foundational leader, being the magnetic innovator, being the wisdom keeper, they're going to grow exponentially. So, whatever it is that you're doing in your life that you're focused on beyond your body is going to come to you more easily and efficiently. Now, profiles 3 and 6, your wisdom keepers, learning through experience, embodying transformation, and leading by example. So, I went into that a lot on the previous slide, so I won't go into it again, but just know you're living through experience. And so, you can actually have like a really fun time experimenting with all different ways to eat and exercise. The 12 profiles, we're not going to go into this line by line because if it doesn't apply to you, I do not want to waste your time. So just know that whatever profile you are, you have the overview here. You're either the 1-3, the alchemist, you're the 1-4, the grounded visionary, you're a 2-4, the magnetic muse, you're a 2-5, the intuitive disruptor, you're a 3-5, the resilient trailblazer, you are a 3-6, the embodied phoenix. And slide number 2. You're either a 4-6 heart-centered leader, 4-1 the unshakable sage, number a 5-1 the visionary guide, a 5-2 the embodied mentor, a 6-2 that's me, the quantum healer, and a 6-3 the cosmic warrior. So, speaking from experience as the quantum healer, you are here to be a role model who shows others how to evolve beyond limitations. Your life is about integration, healing, and ultimately leading by example. Clearly, we're in February of 2025. I tore my left ACL on December 27th of 2024. I was already experimenting with different ways to do cable kickback for your glutes. When you put your heel up into releve, it puts your pelvis in the correct position for something called mechanical tension. And mechanical tension is how the muscle really grows versus just putting a whole bunch of weight on it. It's the tension that's tearing the muscle, but when you actually put your skeleton in the correct position, the growth is exponential. So the feedback that I got from Melissa, my dance teacher, is really about weight, shifting the weight, because I really had a hard time finding my placement in the heels so that I could move quickly, but then stop on a dime. And so with that feedback, I was like, okay, well, like, what do I need to do physically in my body so that I can dance better? So I was already changing how I was exercising and I could see the payoff. I definitely saw the payoff. But then when I tore my ACL and I went to two doctors, one doctor said, the orthopedist said, don't have surgery. If you don't have pain now, there are people that will have the surgery and then they're in consistent pain after. He's like, don't do the surgery if you don't need to. Then I went to the sports medicine, and the sports medicine guy was like, you're a perfect candidate for surgery. I have athletes come in here all the time post surgery and they're fine. Do the surgery. If dance is that important to you, do the surgery. I was like, and he's like, however, you could be one of the 10% that don't need surgery. It's a genetic anomaly. It isn't any type of therapy that they did to prevent the surgery. He's like, that could very well be you. And he's like, if you strengthen your hamstring will help stop the knee from hyperextending because basically the ACL stops the knee from bending backwards. So when he and I did a muscle test, he's like, "Can you hear when I pull on your right knee? There's a stopping point." Like, yeah. He's like, "Okay, now when I pull on your left one, can you tell how like there's no like stop?" And he's like, "It's only stopping because your skin is stopping your knee from separating." He's like, "That one's torn." So I'm like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "Just try strengthening your hamstrings, see what happens." So I'm like, "Okay." So I took a week off of exercise after I tore it, and I went back to the gym and was even more specific with how I was placing my ankle and my pelvis. And I tell you, I am dancing better. I'm dancing better. Do you hear me? And my body actually feels better, ironically enough. So I'm sharing this with you because there are no limitations. And there are so many things in spiritual contexts where they talk about how your body is the limitation. And then some other things say it's only your mind that is the limitation. And it's like, well, okay, we can time travel in our mind because that's memory, and so, but our body can't just, you know, manifest somewhere else on a dime. And then the flip side is I should not be doing a lot of the things that I'm doing physically because I have limitations, but because I have figured out, well, what's the alternative? What's the other muscle group to work? What's the other function? How can I actually create strength around a certain area of my body that's more vulnerable? So then the limitation starts to go away and the limitation starts to be the superpower. So that's what I want to share with you, that you're going to be able in your own way, in your own profile, really be able to embody what it is you came here to do on the soul level. So with your authority in human design, this is your inner compass for a hot magnetic body. So again, the fat life isn't about forcing habits, it's embodying your power. And diet culture makes people override their authority, leading to self sabotage, stress, and body dysmorphia. When we are not following our intuition, we are denying our feelings. Our feelings are also the inner child. It's the feminine aspect of the entire substance of God, right? If God is the ultimate and supreme reality, and there is a masculine energetic of polarized energy of a positive charge, and there is a feminine negative charged energy, and the feminine is associated with feelings, and the masculine is associated with thoughts. If we don't follow our authority, we are in self abandonment. And that is just the overarching umbrella that goes into every aspect of our life, but this is also why diet culture may be stressing you out and leading to body dysmorphia, because you're comparing yourself in an uncomparable way, and that never lands in our favor. So we're going to look at the authority so that you can really start to trust your inner guidance, and you're going to be able to hear your inner guidance more and more and more. The more you get connected with your inner child, the more you are being disciplined and diligent with your brain and heart coherency breathing for 3 minutes a day, so that that way you can actually trust what it is that you're intuitively feeling as your intuition, versus, is this my inner child trying to sabotage me? Is this my protective mechanisms from my inner child that like I'm really getting afraid in a way that is not the face your fears type of way? It's really going to give you so much more context to be able to trust yourself. So, as I said before, the authorities are your intuition, and you'll be able to feel this, listen to it even more. The more you clear yourself of the frozen emotions with doing your brain and heart coherency work and doing your inner child integrations. So, in the Google Word document that you have access to in the Fat Life, whether you're in the 6 month group container or the 12-month private container, you have more in depth information about how to really observe and work with these authority types. This is just going to be a pretty big overview. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing so that you don't, spend any time listening to an authority that is not yours. I'll just speak from experience with the emotional authority. So I am the emotional authority that is the solar plexus. It goes by solar plexus or emotional authority, but also being a manifesting generator, I'm also a sacral authority. And so that's one of the nuances with human design and the authority, that if you're a manifesting generator or a manifester, you will have the sacral authority where you have a very clear yes or no of an uh-huh or an uh-uh. However, if you have the caveat of the emotional authority makes perfect sense for how my body has manifested the repressed emotions, and also with the karmic work that I am doing and my awareness of the revolutionary transits. Because with the emotional authority, you actually have three waves where you're able to feel the energetic, the emotions of the cosmos. You're able to feel the energetics or the emotions of the collective. And then you're also feeling your own emotions. So there is a lot going on. So we are very emotional. And with this, like, honestly, like, people can get diagnosed with all different types of mental or emotional issues, but it's really because we have so much energy flowing through our body. And when you have different energy in your body, it actually impacts how you're thinking. Which, if you're doing the brain and heart coherency breathing, that when we are centered in our heart and we are imagining something that would make us feel love, joy, appreciation, kindness, or care, from the outside in, that imagination, the image in our mind, and the feeling that we're having, that we're generating that energy from our emotion, it impacts the brain waves. So if you're an emotional authority and you have a lot of energy coming through you at all times, it is very challenging to function. It's very challenging to figure out what is actually your emotional state based on your own life, your own soul, and then what is actually coming through you as you are designed to help teach people with energetics, with manifestation, with emotions, or just doing karmic work where you are receiving information through energy, you're feeling it, you're interpreting it, and having to discern, is this something that's impactful to me, or is this something that now that I'm feeling it, I'm actually going to do alchemical work. I'm actually going to do inner work to transmute this frequency, even though it's not necessarily mine. And so that is like big work that we're doing that makes sense for us to have this information about human design and to be alive during the revolutionary translits. I'm always going to be going back to this because we are in a change of civilization and it's the most incredible thing in the whole wide world. So, as the emotional authority, my mantra is I trust the wisdom of my emotions. Clarity comes when I honor my waves and allow them to guide me toward alignment. So this is really important because when we do have a lot of emotion coming through as the emotional authority, we can't just make a decision based on that emotional state because it is transient. And so I have had to get very skilled in feeling a certain type of way and being like, whoa, this is like really supercharged. Like, I better not overcommit because I'm on an energetic high. That is not going to be sustainable if I just stack a bunch of responsibilities on my plate, which I have done that in the past. And then also, when there is an energetic low, instead of feeling like Chicken Little and the sky is falling, it's like, oh, actually, let me do my little Capricorn checklist to see, like, am I hitting all my marks? Am I doing my three daily, non-negotiables with my food? Did I exercise? Did I take time to take a break? Am I hydrated? Have I taken my supplements today? Like, I go through a little list to be like, is there anything that is off in my life and in my lifestyle and in my habits that perhaps is causing me to feel this way? Okay, go through that checklist in my head. Did I interact with anybody that was repulsive with my energy? Did I get triggered by someone and I didn't even notice? Okay, let me, like, think about the interactions I've had recently. Okay, well, what have I been listening? What type of music have I been listening to? What kind of commercials have I seen? I get really triggered when I see medication commercials because there's like such a laundry, like half the commercial is talking about the side effects. And I'm like, and everybody's taking these pills because they look really flashy and cute on the commercial. So I have to like really look at what was I just exposed to that I might be feeling this way. And if my checklist comes out clear, basically that like there's nothing in my life to warrant this feeling, I'm like, oh, it's an energetic low. Okay, it means nothing. And then you just have to wait for it to pass. And so then once there is like clarity in these waves, because remember there's three of them that we're having, then it's like, okay, now I can make a decision now that I'm not in an emotional high or a low. So you're really going to be able to understand yourself in a similar way that I just described my understanding, the more that you do your inner work. So you may find as that sacral authority, you're the magnetic creator. You are generating this life force energy all the time, and you have a very clear distinction of a yes or a no. If you're a splenic authority, um, the splenic authority is like it does not make sense, but it's a first gut instinct where you could get this instinct to do something which makes no logical sense to you or anybody observing you, but you're like, I don't care, this is it. And when you trust that, then you're really able to move forward in very powerful ways. If you're the ego or the heart authority, the sovereign powerhouse, this is really encouraging you to have self trust and self worth, reinforcing that wanting something isn't selfish, it's actually soul aligned. And so this really goes into a lot of what women struggle with, especially with their body. And especially in like this really plays into why being goal oriented towards aesthetics, as superficial as it might feel in the beginning, for you to step into how you want to look, for you to do that and the boundaries that you have to create with your time and what you have to face in yourself of how any time in your life you have been told that who you are is not good. When you say I want something else for myself, you have to face all of these limiting beliefs that are going to translate into I am selfish if I want to look this way, or I'm shallow if I want to look this way. So when we move past wanting to be healthy and we move into what is my desired aesthetic, you're going to pull up even more repressed stuff of where you have disowned parts of yourself. If you're the self-projected authority of the authentic voice, this is my voice is my compass. When I speak my truth, my path reveals itself effortlessly. And so this really reminds me of when you're just like going off on a tangent. And if you have been in the manifestation space and you've heard about Abraham Hicks, Abraham is a group of non physical beings that collectively call themselves Abraham. And for years and years and years, they have been channeled through a woman named Esther Hicks. And they call it a rampage where you just start rattling off I am beautiful, I am hot, I am sexy, I am magnetic, I am wonderful, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I am da, da, da. And you just let yourself speak yourself into existence. So you could clearly do mantras like that and just let yourself rattle off, but allow yourself to speak yourself into existence. Like listen to yourself as you talk and really pick up that intuition that way. With your mental authority, the cosmic observer, it helps mental projectors avoid overthinking and instead trust their external reflections for guidance. So this is really cool, and I actually feel that like this is part of my superpowers of being able to see connections with patterns, which is something that people with attachment trauma are able to do, because when you have attachment trauma from ages 0 to 3, you are at such a young age figuring out safety. And so you're very keen to like notice little nuances in behavior and notice um, A plus B plus C actually ends up equaling X, Y, and Z. And so you're able to see what's going on in a different type of way. So it's the same thing for the mental authority, that because the experience of life is the mirrored universe, that we are projecting our energy and the particles, like actual particles, are reflecting us to us, and how people respond to us and interact with us is also a reflection. It's the mirror. The mental authority is able to really take a very big expansive look of what's going on in their life to then have that intuition. And then the lunar authority, the sacred timekeeper, my decisions are rooted in divine timing. I honor my natural cycle and trust the universe to reveal the way. This is really important for the lunar authority because the lunar authority has a month-long decision making cycle. And the lunar authority is very interesting because you're really on a very expansive time frame. And so you should not feel pressured to have any instant knowing on anything, because that is like your gift, to have like that longevity of time to really take in like a lot of information, and then also like let the divinity of the cosmos play out for you when you're experiencing your life. When you embody your authority, you're going to be able to own your own hotness, because again, you are trusting your inner guidance. So in the fat life, you have eating information where you're learning how to break free from diets, where you're learning how to listen to the biofeedback, what your body actually wants from like how food feels in your mouth, what type of textures you like, if you like to feel really full from carbs, if you like to feel more satiated from fat, um uh, what type of preemptive cheats you want to have, how you want to incorporate your binge foods, and then also how you actually track your macros in a sane way where you're not going over the top, being super meticulous to drive yourself into decision fatigue. So you have the information necessary to transform your body. You have the actual eating and exercise tools. But now what happens is you get to manipulate the tools in whatever way that works for you. So you may do, for instance, the exercise portion, right? In the exercise portion, you have three workouts that are designed to really shape the fulcrum. So your shoulder girdle, your pelvic girdle, and your deep core. It's a bodybuilding workout, but these are all exercises that have a high payoff for your hip function, your shoulder function, and your posture and your bladder. Because women, as we get older, our bladders can actually prolapse completely out of our body. So we're doing deep core work actually for long term health. But the payoff now is that you get the ab lines and your waistline gets snatched. You also have your alignment exercises where you're being very specific with the movement of your joints so that you create a better connection with your body. And that way, when you have a better connection with your body, it's easier for you to sense cravings for food so that you can give yourself what your body wants so that you're not depriving yourself to lead to a binge. And also, when you're doing the alignment exercises, the connection that you're building is something that you're going to have long term with whatever type of athleticism that you want to have. Because if you're like, with me, if you do the 6 months of the group program, if you do the 12 months of the one on one program, and you get to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I feel such an amazing sense of completion in this 6 month period, in this 12-month period. What else do I want for my body? Do I want to try hiking Mount Everest? Do I want to take up snowboarding? Because you have such a better awareness for your body, you're going to intuitively know what you need to exercise, or at least you're going to intuitively know what to Google search, or at least you're going to know to ask me if you continue for another 6 months or another 12 months of like, hey, this is the thing that I want to happen next. How can we formulate my exercise around this? And it's going to be so much easier for you to grasp because you have such a clear connection with your body. I'm going to take my camera off because you are going to do a screenshot of this paper so that you can print it out. And you're going to write in your energy, your profile, and your authority. So take that screenshot. Okay, I'm going to turn my camera back on. So here I have an example of my energy, my profile, my authority as the manifesting generator. I am the multi-passionate powerhouse moving fast, efficiently, and non-linearly. I need variety and flexibility in my health habits. As my 6'2", I am the quantum healer, here to be a role model who shows others how to evolve beyond limitations. My life is about integration, healing, and ultimately leading by example. And I ride the wave of my own timing as that emotional authority. And my mantra is I trust the wisdom of my emotions. Clarity comes when I honor my waves and allow them to guide me toward alignment. And that's something that I really always, I'm always like top of mind, that when, especially when I'm in a low, that I'm like, when we're in the depth, that's where we have so much ability to create wisdom. And so the depth of my waves with being a solar plexus emotional authority is also the same to me as the depths of the pain of the inner child. And so I really want to inspire you to go deep with your inner child work. And when you do hit these moments in the inner child work where you feel so low, you feel so sad, you feel so depressed, you feel so stuck, you feel like, oh my gosh, like, am I ever going to get out of this rut? Like, this is so difficult. That that level of energy that you're in that moment is how high you can go because we're dealing with polarity. We're dealing with duality. So as depressed as you may feel in a low, that is the equal and opposite potential of how high and how enlightened and how free and how joyful you can really experience your life.